Background: the SS St. Louis was a German ocean liner carrying Jewish refugees escaping persecution in Nazi Germany. The ship set sail in May 1939 with over 900 passengers seeking asylum. Denied entry to Cuba. Despite having valid visas for Cuba, the Cuban government, facing political pressure and bribery, revoked the entry permits for most passengers. Only a handful were allowed to disembark. Desperate appeals. The passengers sent desperate telegrams to the United States pleading for asylum. The U.S. government, however, remained firm in its refusal to accept the refugees. Return to Europe. With no haven, the SS St. Louis was forced to return to Europe. The passengers faced an uncertain fate as they neared the countries they had tried to escape. Denied entry again. The ship sought refuge in the United States, Canada, and other countries, but all refused to admit the Jewish refugees. The passengers faced the prospect of returning to a continent under Nazi control. International outcry. News of the plight of the SS St. Louis triggered international outrage. The media covered the story extensively, putting pressure on governments to reconsider their stance. Negotiations continue. While the ship was at sea, negotiations continued to find a solution. Efforts were made to convince European countries to take in the refugees. Temporary haven. Eventually, the United Kingdom, France, Belgium, and the Netherlands agreed to take in the passengers. They were distributed among these countries, but even there, the refugees faced the challenges of war. Post-war fate. Some of the passengers who found refuge in France and Belgium later faced the horrors of the Nazi occupation. The tragedy of the SS St. Louis highlighted the urgency of finding safe havens for refugees during a tumultuous period. Historical reflection. The SS St. Louis incident is often cited as an example of the international community's failure to respond adequately to the refugee crisis during the prelude to World War II. Impact on immigration policies. The tragedy played a role in shaping future immigration policies, emphasizing the need for compassionate responses to those fleeing persecution. Holocaust victims. Some passengers who returned to Europe became victims of the Holocaust, underscoring the dire consequences of closed borders and inadequate humanitarian responses. Human rights legacy. The SS St. Louis tragedy contributed to the post-war development of international human rights laws and the establishment of the Refugee Convention. Documentary accounts. Numerous documentaries and films have been made to recount the story of the SS St. Louis, preserving the memory of the refugees and the challenges they faced. Educational importance. The SS St. Louis serves as a poignant historical lesson, urging current and future generations to consider the ethical and humanitarian dimensions of refugee crises. Global awareness. The tragedy raised global awareness about the plight of refugees and influenced discussions on the responsibility of nations to provide sanctuary in times of crisis. Legacy of advocacy. The survivors and descendants of the SS St. Louis passengers often became advocates for refugee rights, using their personal stories to promote empathy and understanding. Historical apologies. In subsequent years, some nations expressed regret and issued formal apologies for their role in denying entry to the SS St. Louis refugees. Legal reforms. The SS St. Louis tragedy contributed to legal reforms aimed at preventing a recurrence of such events, emphasizing the moral obligation to aid those seeking refuge. Resonance in contemporary debates. The story of the SS St. Louis remains relevant in contemporary debates about immigration, asylum, and the responsibilities of nations to protect vulnerable populations. Artistic expressions. Beyond documentaries, the SS St. Louis tragedy has been depicted in various artistic forms, including literature, theater, and visual arts. Memorialization efforts. Memorials and commemorative events have been organized to honor the memory of the SS St. Louis passengers and to promote remembrance of historical injustices. Lessons for humanity. The SS St. Louis serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of indifference and the importance of compassion in the face of human suffering. Scholarly exploration. Academics continue to explore the SS St. Louis tragedy, contributing to a deeper understanding of the historical, political, and ethical dimensions surrounding the event. Ongoing relevance. The legacy of the SS St. Louis endures as a cautionary tale, urging societies to remain vigilant against discrimination, persecution, and the denial of refuge to those in need.